Welcome to my presentation about data science at the German Federal Foreign Office. I have to say from the beginning that we have a lot of departments that do data science. I'm from the StratCom unit, embedded data scientist there. We have some applications, but there are other applications that, like the more pure breed, is the data lab that have loads of data science applications. But we get also the people from preview that do early crisis detection, prediction, and visualizations. The way we apply data science in the StratCom unit is threefold. One of the pillars of our unit is the active communication, where we're trying to enable that our embassies, ambassadors, they have unified language with which they speak. Herefore, of course, data science and especially the social media monitoring are important. So we can track, for example, the performance of our social media channels, or see whether certain types of language work better than others. We do have also a strong connection to social media monitoring in terms of debates. So we do on a regular basis have a look at debates around social media where we can see what are prevailing narratives, which clusters are getting more engagement than other clusters. So the two of them are interconnected because in the one we are learning about narratives, and in the active communication we're trying to apply some knowledge that we gained from the social media monitoring. When we do social media monitoring surrounding debates, we're also interested in the section of disinformation. So we're trying to see what are the narratives that our disinformation actors spread. Now, you do see also two arrows between active communication and disinformation. That you should not confuse that with the German Foreign Office promoting disinformation in terms of their active communication strategy. It's rather what I said before, that we're trying to learn what are the narratives and that we have answers for them, that we're able to counter narratives if needed, but mostly that is for us to learn kind of reactive speech. So in case some of the points come up, we know about them beforehand and we can react. I will go in all of the three pillars shortly, promoting you with some things that we're doing. So in terms of social media monitoring, I would say that we have access to a social listening tool, very standard, and we gain some insights from what is really there on the tool. The first thing is already through time series visualization. So on the top left, you just see how big is a debate, and that is sometimes just the most relevant information, because when you think about whether you want to react to something, you first have to know whether a debate is large enough or is not, so you can react or not. If there's not much there, I think you're much better off if you're just saying nothing. What we also know then in this so we can segment debates by sentiments, by countries, by languages, and types of other demographic categories. What we are definitely always interested in is whether a specific debate, how much is seen, it comes from specific language. And what we also know directly in our tool is what were the most engaging posts, where were they, and of course who are the people that are influential on social media. In a second step, we would then have a look at sentiments and narratives. So on the top right, you see the same debate, and you see the sentiment over time. And then what we can do is also have a look at word clouds. We can click on all of those words and we get some GPT summaries on what is being said among them. Here, for example, I brought you a debate about weapon deliveries in the Ukraine, and we saw that some actors are spreading already information that Germans and French soldiers have already entered the war, which is clearly incorrect information. Then some of the things that we are interested in are not able to be done directly in our tool, and we do them by ourselves. So on the left, you would see network analysis, where we are able to identify clusters with a combination of quantitative and qualitative research. We assign mostly clusters to a specific narrative, and we have also an option, if you look right here, to see what are very influential accounts. Then in the last step, we're interested in seeing whether which of the narratives is winning the battle of narratives. So we can aggregate the impressions, the engagement, the number of posts by each of the sites. That's it, what we're doing mostly in the social media monitoring. When it comes to active communication, there is again a divide between what we can do in our social listening tool and what we have to do by ourselves. So on the top left, you would see, for example, a couple of our embassies in Europe, and we are seeing, or they can see actively in the tool, their owner activity, audience activity, daily engagement, average engagement. So for them, it's very cool because it's very handy to compare yourselves with a set of embassies that are more or less like yourself. You can select and deselect them. You can see whether your daily engagement is getting better over time or it's not. On the other hand, sometimes you have to take a little bit more of the bird's view, and that's what you're seeing in the top right. So we have defined a couple of KPIs, and we can aggregate all of our embassies and ambassadors accounts and see how many followers they're having in total on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So divided by the platforms, we can see their reach, we can see how much their follower basis is growing, how active they are, how is their engagement. So just to have a sense of benchmarking, saying what is actually our reach as the German Federal Foreign Office and what is it on all of those platforms. Of course, we're tracking those things also over time. Also in our communication, we are having limited resources, and sometimes you gotta make a decision whether you want to communicate more on platform Facebook versus platform Twitter. So there are a couple of things that you should be interested in, which is, for example, how many weekly added followers you are getting over time. Does that differ by all of the platforms? And are there trends? Is Instagram overtaking Twitter? Should you focus more on producing Instagram content? And sometimes what we do is a bit more advanced statistical analysis. What we have noted in our active communication is that some of our embassies are afraid of shitstorms. They're afraid to communicate. They're afraid to go out there in the marketplace of ideas and communicate what's the position of Germany. Therefore, we decided to make an advanced study, I'd say, where we have first been modeling shitstorms. And then we did, and that's what you're seeing here, a so-called event study. So we take the day before the shitstorm and look at how many followers you had before and after. You see that in the days before, so -2 to -5, there's not much going on, but actually, so from day 0 up to day 5, you got more followers. That was on average about 150 to 200 followers. You see that it jumps immediately on the day of the shitstorm. So the effect of having a shitstorm for an embassy is defined by followers, and we have looked also at engagement, we have looked at activity, net positive, which is not encouraging our embassies to go out there and cause shitstorms. It is to say, go out there and tell your idea. And when there is a shitstorm happening, it's not that bad. You get some attention. Okay, that may hurt. It's not so nice. You get some comments, but you also get promoted to some people that didn't know you before, and they're the ones that listen. Now, a last point of what we're doing is we're also looking at disinformation, or what we're rather looking at is FIMI. So for information manipulation and interference. That's the concept that we're following, because it is mostly a non-illegal pattern of behavior. So we're really not looking here at the content. we're looking at the behavior of accounts on social media. And what we're interested in is whether there's activity that is manipulative, that is inauthentic in a coordinated way. And I think in January we came out with a big study. So let me tell you really two sentences about it, which is what we have been seeing that out there is that there is a big division of labor between creators. So that's accounts that just put out posts there. Um, you can see here the translated content, and what is already notorious about those posts is that they basically have just one sort of engagement, which is retweets. In that case, there are hardly any likes, there are hardly any comments, they're just getting retweeted. So you might wonder, where do they get posted in? And you can see that now comes in the second part of the division of labor, which are the amplifiers. The amplifiers go out there and post that stuff everywhere where they can find it, under trending hashtags, under very prominent profiles, everywhere they can find it. They would just repost that thing. That's why you get those off metrics. Now, the role of data science here was that first we were able to look at it through bot networks. So you see very notorious type of network activity that, well, if you go back and look here, that's how a social media debate would look like in terms of networks. And you immediately, I think, note the difference between the two types of networks. But what was more striking for us is the following, which is an extremely hard graph to read, in my opinion. So what you're seeing here is just accounts, and you're seeing a dot. A dot is a post, and you can see here the time. So you would see that Jamie210 and so on was posting around midnight, and then there was another account and another account and so on. And if you go and zoom into those, what you would see is that, well, so they would post at the same time, and then the network would go through second account, third account, fourth account, and so on. Everything within a second. And then once the network has rotated through, they would restart again with Jamie. So it is always the same order.